episode's on entrepreneurship. We are all entrepreneurs in this room. What's up, guys? We're back. It's been a long time, but we're here. Kristian Vasquez podcast. I'm with my cousin Chucky, also known as Richard Vasquez Jr., Victor Ramos, and we're here to talk entrepreneurship. And we're all entrepreneurs in this room, and we're gonna, basically break it down on, what it means to us, and how we can give you guys some tidbits to, be successful in your entrepreneurial world. Let's start off with my cousin Chucky. Chuck, you want me to call you Chucky in this podcast?
Yeah, Chucky. That's the family name
Chucky.
only. So
right.
for those of you who know me, who call me Chucky, you're part of the family.
Oh, there you go. So here we are with Chucky. Chucky he brought this podcast together. He wanted to talk about entrepreneurship. So he's going to kind of guide this, and we're going to be here to kind of feed off of him and make this valuable for everybody watching. So Chucky, what's up, man?
Really appreciate coming back on and talking about entrepreneurship, being with everybody here. With everything going on this year's been a little bit of a roller coaster, as we've all seen. Inflation over 8%, mortgages surpass 7%. A lot of people are looking at their brokerage account statements, crypto statements, down 20+% year to date. I think that one topic that I'm hearing over and over is entrepreneurship, watching TikTok videos, watching YouTube videos, and a lot of people want to define what entrepreneurship means. And so what I wanted to do was have a safe space where we could have a conversation to discuss entrepreneurship, because it is a very large ecosystem, and there's a lot of different categories within entrepreneurship. So where I wanted to start is, what does entrepreneurship mean to you? Maybe we could start very broadly and then pivot from there.
Entrepreneurship to me means freedom. It always has. I never wanted to be restricted to sitting down in an office all day. I wanted to have freedom. I'm very creative, so sitting somewhere all day, it restricts my creativity.
Sure.
And what else does entrepreneurship mean to me aside from freedom? Financial ceiling. There's no ceiling to how much you can make as an entrepreneur.
Sure.
The amount of work you put in, and the education for yourself, and whatever it is that you're looking to open, there's no limit. Pretty much for me, that's what entrepreneurship is.
That's awesome.
Freedom and financial, no limitations.
That's fantastic. I love the positive mindset as well too. So,
yeah.
Victor, what does it mean to you?
Entrepreneurship to me, and of course, it always tangles with freedom, but it was always like not being cuffed. Just basically being able to do things the way that you wanted to do it. I always saw entrepreneurs as innovators, and then I learned that there's innovating entrepreneurs, right? Because we know the textbook definition of an entrepreneur is someone that does business or many businesses, right? But and then there's that caveat to it with a lot of financial risk, and a lot of people don't look at that part of that definition. Yes. They just think, oh, I own a business, or I got businesses. But no, it's taking that step. So I've always looked at it like as the innovating entrepreneur. Like that's always what I've strived for,
Right.
to invoke change in industries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what entrepreneurship.
Bring about your vision of how you want to see things done. Right. Absolutely. I agree.
And it's interesting that you both said that. I heard freedom, innovation, having the ability to create multiple businesses, possibly multiple streams of income. But the one thing that I think that some people don't see are the hardships in entrepreneurship. So it's funny that today I'm seeing all of these videos talking about entrepreneurship, but I bet if we were in a time machine and we went back 30 years, we'd see very few videos on entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Why?
Yeah.
The risk involved, right? When I remember growing up in school, the teacher asking me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And as a kindergartner, first grader, second grader, what are the common responses?
Fireman.
Police officer, which my father was, by the way, a police officer, because that's the job society told him to go and get.
Absolutely,
right? And, nurse, these are, by the way, these are roles that are very important to society.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Very important, right? But in today's world, we don't hear that as much.
No.
And I think, and again, this is my opinion, where it matters. I think that the pandemic has highlighted a couple of vulnerabilities to the safety of those jobs, right? Think about those that jobs were actually eliminated because of, and I won't go into this at all, but things that they had to do in order to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
And so you were thinking in that situation, I have a safe job, I'm going to continue, but people also were bashing entrepreneurship as well for the, let's call it 20 years ago-ish, started to see entrepreneurship kind of come up. You started seeing that with the rise in hip hop, and you started to see that with the rise in artists and freedom of expression. And to entrepreneurship means that to me.
Right.
Freedom of expression, freedom of income, freedom of time.
That's right.
But there's a significant amount of risk. What if you're wrong?
Right.
What if it doesn't work out?
Well, I think, and I agree with you 100%. I think that the rise of the creative has led way to entrepreneurship becoming a popular topic, right? It becomes a popular thing to do. And like everything that becomes popular, you have people that jump on the bandwagon without really understanding what it really is all about, right? And I think that education plays a huge part in it, because early on, right, education's really the textbook education when you go to school as a young kid, like that's designed to make you a worker. It teaches you how to be a worker, how to do what you're told to do, get good grades, right?
Yes.
But now with the internet and the expansion of the internet, and there's so much information out there where people are getting educated, right, as to different ways of doing things, right? And you match that with the creative, where like now I could be a teacher and on the side sell my artwork or sell pins of my artwork and, you know, make money. And now I start to make more money than I do teaching. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why am I doing this?
Let's invert that. Let's flip that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was gonna say that the rise of TikTok, social media, and the amount of information that we're getting from people who are entrepreneurs that are trying to school us for the past, say, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years has created that new mindset of this new generation. I've had that mindset. I feel like many people have it naturally, you know.
Sure.
But now more so than ever, like you said, because of the rise of TikTok, showing how to do this, how to do that, and giving these people ideas on how to go about it. So, yeah, man, creativity and knowledge creates entrepreneurship.
But there's that darker side, right? There's that side that a lot of people don't talk about. Like you don't see it on sorry.
It's all good.
You don't see it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, you know, how many divorces you have because of entrepreneurship, how many, you know, people run. Like I always say it, right? There's a big difference between broke and building, right? And entrepreneurs, they always go through that building phase, whereas there's that phase that, hey, they don't got it like that. Like they're putting everything, like you could look at Elon Musk's story, right? And a lot of people consider him the GOAT, but my man spent time in one small office with a couch that he slept on, that he stayed there. Yeah. Him and his brother, you know? And while his business was working, when it's down, he was coding. And then, you know, he tells a story all the time, you know? Like that's entrepreneurship. You know?
That's the story of the trenches though, right? So it's you know, people don't see the behind the scenes. They say, "Oh, you're an overnight success." Yeah, it took me 30 years to get here.
Right. And it's not popular.
Trial and error, failures, and honestly, in entrepreneurship, you learn the most from your failures.
100%.
And I could say that from multiple businesses that I've opened. I've learned so much. Where I'm at a point in my entrepreneurial world where I know how to delegate. I know how to relieve myself from some time so I can focus on other things that are more important. But you learn this through the process of starting and just trying and just trial and error. So
and it's funny you say that because I think one other aspect is emotional intelligence, right? In school, IQ, what's your IQ? You're a very intelligent person. That was the form of measurement on someone's intelligence level. And I think that within the last 10, 15 years, I'm starting to see more and more of a push of emotional intelligence, right? And so there are 4 different subcategories of EQ, emotional intelligence. Right. And if you are good at any one of those 4 and you know that, that means that you know yourself.
Yeah.
You know what you bring to the table, strengths, weaknesses, and then you can magnify those and spend time on those, working on those. Because guess what? That is part of entrepreneurship, learning about yourself and then adapting and then growing from that adaptation.
Yeah, absolutely. You do learn a lot about yourself when you're an entrepreneur.
So much,
100%.
so much.
100%.
Entrepreneurship's a character building process, right? Absolutely. It's like just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't make you a successful entrepreneur, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the grit and the grind that you got to go through that ultimately defines the type of entrepreneur that you're going to be, right? Because like a lot of things, it's easy to slap the label on yourself and be like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, right? You could go open up a business for what, $300? We talked about it before, right?
Yeah.
Like that, but that doesn't necessarily make you an entrepreneur. There's a lot that you have to go through, and making money doesn't necessarily make you an entrepreneur.
No.
There's a lot of dudes that they do stuff that make money, but that doesn't mean that they're an entrepreneur, you know?
And you know, highlighting that point, I think let's talk a little bit about the struggles. Let's talk a little bit about the negatives. So what are some of the negatives that people don't think about in entrepreneurship? If you had to highlight maybe one or two things, maybe even stories, what would you say?
Could I could talk about me doing my boxing promotion right now?
Sure.
So normally doing a big event like this should take a few people to take the reins of certain things. I do this by myself, and when I do this with zero budget, right? So now, like, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like I got to use my creativity, I got to use my resources to try to make this event happen. And because I've done so many of them, I know I could do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like doing it with no budget. So there's people out there watching. I got no money. How am I going to do an event, or how am I going to do this business? You got to use your resources. You got to, whatever you're capable of doing, you got to take on yourself. So for like me with this particular event, I've been looking for a graphic designer for weeks. Nobody could bring my vision out. Guess what? I had to do it myself. I know Photoshop. I know Adobe Premiere. I know how to design. I could do it all myself. And that's something that as an entrepreneur, you guys need to learn, because you can't rely on everybody, especially starting out. You need to learn how to do it yourself. And over time, you can find the right people to fit the pieces that you need. And don't be afraid to pay people, because good people are worth it.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you know, you're better off making 10% of this much than making 100% of this much, because you didn't have the right people on your team. So pay the people.
Can I just say buzzwords here?
Absolutely.
That as you say this, I think about the mindset of an entrepreneur: investment versus expense.
Yeah.
Right? I'm making an investment.
Yeah.
Most people would say, oh, it costs me too much money. It's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you're not seeing the value on what that brings.
Yeah.
And it's not worth the investment to you, which probably tells me that you don't value your business and that you shouldn't be applying those resources to whatever it was that you wanted to do.
Right. You didn't believe in it enough, or you didn't believe in yourself enough to execute.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to believe in yourself to execute, and you got to see the vision through. And with entrepreneurship, there's always going to be that bump in the road, but you got to look at that bump in the road just like that's it, a bump in the road, and you just keep going. Don't stop right there, because on the other side of that bump in the road, there's a smooth road that you're going to keep going. You might hit some more bumps, but be creative, use your resources, and work till 3 a.m. if you have to.
100%.
You know,
Well,
I'm all over the place with this, but that's just how I talk.
But one of the biggest points that you made, and I think it's super important, especially on a podcast that we're talking about entrepreneurship, is resource, right? Like, money's a resource. And just like every budding entrepreneur, you hear it from budding artists, you hear it from, oh, if I just have the money. Money's a resource.
Right.
I've heard it said, right, the ultimate resource is resourcefulness. So as an entrepreneur, you have to learn to be resourceful. Like, how can you get it done without money? Because there's always going to come a point in time, whether it's through no fault of your own or things just turned out that way, that you don't have money or the money you need.
Yeah.
So you got to figure this out. You got to become, how can I bring people into this project? How can I go out and get it? What else can I do to find the money? You know, like sometimes if you're trying to bring a project to fruition and you're raising money and you can't raise money, you got to figure out, all right, what am I going to do to get the money? Like, what am I going to do that I can create the finances I need to bring this dream to fruition, you know? And sometimes, you know, like everybody wants to put together a plan and say, all right, I'm going to get people to buy into this plan and that's it. We're going to take it to the moon. But what happens when people don't buy into the plan?
Yep.
Is that it? Is that it for your dream? Is that it? The true entrepreneur says, no, I got to go get it.
Yeah,
How am I going to do it? How am I going to make this boxing event happen, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go out and grind, grit.
I have one word.
Yeah.
Addiction.
Yeah.
Right? Addiction is the word.
Absolutely.
If you are not addicted to your vision and what your dream is, it will never happen. And I use the word addiction on purpose because anybody that is addicted to anything, fill in the blank on what that addiction is, they find a way to do it. They find a way to get or consume or do whatever they're addicted to.
That's right.
So maybe they're not addicted.
Yeah.
Maybe they should find a way to motivate themselves to create that addiction.
Or find something that you're really passionate about.
100%.
What do you're a soccer player. You play the guitar, anything, whatever you're passionate about. Think about the business aspect. What do people do in those particular areas? How do they make money? Well, why can't I do that? You know, and then you execute. You honestly, you don't have to break the mold neither. There's formulas. The people did it already. So you just follow the formula, and as you become successful, then you create your own formula after being successful.
Can I also mention another word?
Yeah.
So I said addict is one word. Yeah. The next word is vulnerability, right? And I think that some people don't want to be vulnerable because of fear of what it may look like to the audience, especially highlighting all of these different platforms that exist. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name whatever the platform is. Yeah. And people say, oh, I don't want to post my content because I don't like the way it looks, or right? And so they don't get as many views, or they stop their creative brain because of vulnerability, fear of vulnerability.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that? Being vulnerable, exposing yourself, potential failures.
Well, me personally, I never really cared like how people thought about me. And that's one thing, I think that's why I'm successful, is because I never cared.
Sure.
You know, if you don't care, you're fearless, and you just put it out there, you don't worry about what negative things people have to say. There's always going to be a negative person out there saying something negative about somebody. So if you believe in yourself enough, you just focus on the positive, and that's it. You keep rocking. That's it. I don't care what people think.
See, but now, do you think that you were inherently that way, or that's something that you grew to be, a way that you grew to be because, you know, when you were young, you started entrepreneurship relatively young?
I would say, you know, I was a successful kid at a young age, and I always thought I was good looking. So
you had the confidence.
There you go. You had that confidence, right?
It's confidence, man.
Yeah,
I was like a multi-sport.
It's a Vazquez trait.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a multi-sport athlete, and everything I did I was good at, and I thought I was good looking. So I was confident to just do anything, and if I believed in something, 9 out of 10 times I could execute it. So that's just me, and that's not everybody, but
right. No, it's not. That's why I asked the question, right? Because I think, to your point, it is like a lot of people fear being vulnerable. They don't want to show their vulnerability, and I ask you that question because we know that entrepreneurship is a process, right? Not everybody walks out with that confidence, so they got to build up that confidence. And part of becoming a great entrepreneur, I think, is that vulnerability to be able to learn, to be that lifelong student and look at how others act, right? And say, well, Kristian does things this way and he walks around with this confidence, right? How can I adopt that confidence? How can I model that confidence, right? Or find yourself a mentor that knows about finances or stuff like that, or putting together, you know, some people lack that financial education that's needed, right? And they got to find somebody that they can go to and get that from and say, all right, listen, I'm good at this aspect. I'm good at being the creative. I'm good at these ideas, but you know what? I suck with money. and look for help, you know.
and that's a very important part, right? The money piece could be very, very scary, and very, very, especially if there are dependents that rely on you, right? So those variables do play into it, but I think it's not an all or nothing also, right? So you had given an example before someone working a 9 to 5 and starting something on the side, and then kind of transitioning and pivoting once the cash flow and the income surpassed what their take home was on a W-2 salaried position, as an example.
Right.
And I think that that's okay. I think that where people get it wrong is this extremism mentality where it's, all right, I'm just going to go and quit my job tomorrow.
Right.
I don't have a business plan. I don't have my LLC or S corporation formed. I don't have any
Mentors.
resources, mentors. The list
Yeah,
goes
well,
on
I'm
and
guilty
on.
of that, so I can't really. I'm impulsive.
But
you know,
that's okay.
like,
But you're learning throughout the years,
right.
And
But you
so-
take more bumps. You know, there's bumps with that.
Right.
There's-
Well, the bump comes with the lesson learned, and it's going to be instilled
Right.
in your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And that's the key, the lesson learned. That's the key.
right. So I think a lot of people, especially those that are watching and listening, should think about micro steps that they can take. Maybe they're not ready to completely take that giant leap, and that's okay. But as long as you keep propelling yourself forward, I think that that's very, very important.
Right. I think that, like, and you know, let me know if you agree or not, but
Yeah.
I think there's such a correlation between the entrepreneur and the creative, right? Like
Hell
the
yeah.
artist in any form, right? Whether it's musician, a painter, or whatever. Like, there's such correlation because you have this dream, you have this vision, you have this thing you want to bring to fruition, and you got to put in the work, right? And a lot of times you put in that work, and there's a lot of time and a lot of work, and people don't see what goes on behind the scenes, especially when you do things all on your own, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you got this to do, that to do. You're wearing so many hats, and a lot of people think like, oh, I worked for this marketing firm and I killed it and I rocked it. Let me go start my marketing firm.
Right.
Yeah, but it ain't just that, because now you got to become the accountant. Now you got to become the advertising person, not just for your firm, but for the people that
You're the administrator.
that are your
you're
clients,
dealing
right?
with all
You're
these aspects.
There's so many
Yes.
hats that you got to
So many
wear,
hats.
and you got to learn how to do it,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
if you can't learn how to do it, you got to find somebody that can do it, and then you got to be able to trust the person that
You got to be able to
does it.
pay them too.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, another word here, discipline. I think a lot of people don't factor in that. That's a very important word to me in entrepreneurship, is creating that discipline, having that discipline.
Very important. Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Because if not, you could just let yourself go, and it's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to take the rest of the Friday afternoon off.
Yeah.
And your business plan suggested that you needed to complete X amount of tasks on a month-to-month basis in order for you to accomplish whatever Y goal is
That's right.
for the year.
Right.
And so every Friday that you decide to take a half day or sleep in, right, that's 52 compounded weeks. And when you factor in 52 days, you just lost an incredible amount of time.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, so now your business plan. I'm making all of these variables and factors up.
Absolutely.
But your business plan is essentially saying, okay, I'm going to accomplish this in a 3-year, by year 3, this is going to happen.
Right.
And what most entrepreneurs that I've seen that are not prepared, not disciplined, not vulnerable, they're not a student of the game. They're not emotionally intelligent people. Maybe they should have scaled back, and maybe they should have given themselves a little bit more runway. But
Yeah.
year 3 comes, and what do I see? What's my observation? My observation is I don't have enough money to invest in this project. I'm not there yet. It's taking me longer than I wanted to. Why? Because 52 weeks. Now let's
Yeah,
compound that
time.
out 2 years. That's 104 days that you just took a vacation.
You can't.
Now let me ask you a different question, said differently. What W-2 job gives you 100 days off a year?
None.
Or 50?
Not many.
Standard 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing as one mistake, and this is my observation and my opinion, is that some entrepreneurs, they take way too much time off
That's right.
because
Very
they're not
true.
disciplined. Maybe they're not as motivated.
Or maybe they're making enough money.
Right.
They
Facts.
lost that fire because they were here, but I'm comfortable.
Right.
You know.
Comfort plays a huge role.
And then once you get, from my experience, you get comfortable, and then all of a sudden, a pandemic hits. If you would have worked those extra 152 days, you would have had a bigger cushion because more money, more time invested into your entrepreneurship or your business equals more money, more clients, more awareness, more everything. So yeah, man, from what you're saying, more time is very important. Do not slack off. Once you get comfortable, snap out of it, get reignited, reignite that fire. Have to.
And by the way, I think everyone also needs to adapt their skill sets, right? Because we've seen that the pandemic has caused a reshuffle in skill sets, right? Those people that were reliant on their charm, wit, personality, gift of gab, in-person meetings, maybe that's the way that they ran their business for so long. A lot of them might have been lost because they didn't have any digital marketing skill sets or how to adapt into creating a digital presence for themselves.
Right.
And so I think that the person that is courageous, that is looking at always getting better, improving, disciplined, that person that's working on themselves is always going to persevere and do better.
Yes. Yeah. Adapt with the times. Definitely, since now technology's very heavy in entrepreneurship. You need to know technology. So if you're not into technology, you need to learn all aspects of it. Learn video, learn how to make flyers, all that, because you want to be constantly putting a presence out there, especially if you can't afford someone to do it for you.
And I think, and by the way, I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to admit that I am horrible when it comes to technology.
Right.
But
you have the resources.
I have the resources. We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
I network. I ask people to complement the skill sets that I don't bring. I tend to lean more in the areas of my strength, which is that as a networker, connector, and finding out what other people's skill sets are and then fitting them into what I'm doing so that I'm not dreading that task.
Right.
Or maybe it's just going to take me way too much time, and maybe that's the investment piece that we talked about.
Yes.
I should invest in that because I'm going to lose out on more if I spend time to try to do this myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Absolutely.
I
I think that, one of the important key points in a lot of what's being said is because, like, when people make that transition and say, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, right? And if passion is not part of that equation, like if you're not doing something that you're passionate about, when you got to go to a meeting at 11 o'clock at night, that's going to be a difficult meeting to make, right?
Sure.
When you got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go handle something.
And it's cold outside.
Right?
And you get warm bed.
It's not going to be easy to do. So you have to have that passion or, the why of what you're doing. Why are you doing what you're doing? And I think like that's an important question for all of us, right? Like why? Like why do you and obviously you're passionate about the boxing game and you're passionate, but what's your why? Like why do you do what you do? Yeah, you.
Why? Because my why is I know my potential in this industry, and I know that when I see things are done, I know I could do better. So, for instance, like going back into the promotion aspect, I know I could throw a better show than everybody that's throwing shows right now. So why not do it? You know what I mean? That's my why. And financially, I know that in time, this could be something that can alleviate me from worrying about retiring and stuff like that. That's my why. What else is my why? Why? I love it. I love boxing.
Right.
I want to eventually have superstar boxers under my camp and be on Showtime pay-per-view and, give them the platform, make these fighters who don't have an opportunity. I want to give them an opportunity because I know how to talk. I know how to put them in the right places. And if it's under my promotional events, I could create these fighters, build them up under my own, and then eventually another big promoter we can team up and throw something bigger. So I'm thinking big. I'm thinking Madison Square Garden. I'm 43 years old. I've played it. I've played it pretty cool, for the most part of my life. But now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to
scale.
Yeah, I'm.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah,
that's it.
I feel like I've done enough. I've learned so much that I'm ready for whatever right now.
Right.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's great.
I don't know if that was the right answer, but
no, I don't think I don't know that there is a right answer, right?
Answer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no wrong answer.
The wrong answer, right.
I think for me it's really what's written on my hoodie here, on my sweatshirt. It's legacy.
Yes.
Right? And creating a legacy, building a legacy, and making sure that legacy is remembered not just by me. I have a son now. I want obviously what's best for him, things that I didn't have growing up, and I want to make sure that I could provide not just to him, but then to his kids and their kids' kids.
yes.
And so legacy to me is everything, and creating a legacy and leaving a legacy behind. And I'll tell you one thing, right? And I'm going to be vulnerable right now. When I was a kid, my father's a very active martial artist, as you know,
Right, yeah.
right? And so I always found myself being challenged by other martial artists growing up in school. So there was a lot of physical contact between myself and other students, so to speak.
Okay.
And so, the one thing that I realized is that I may not be the smartest person, right? I'm a 3.02 GPA, right? So C plus B minus when it came to academia. But I knew that I hate losing and I like to win, right? And I knew that I was going to work harder than the person next to me, right? Because I'm not going to lose because I didn't get outworked.
No doubt.
Right? And I'm going to outwork everybody, and that I could commit to. Yeah. So that 4 o'clock in the morning, it's funny because sometimes you have to motivate yourself to do things you don't want to do when you don't want to do them, right? And so learning different tasks. I'll tell you one funny task that I learned, and this was a couple years back. I was training for a show. I needed to do a body transformation. And I did, but just getting that motivation for the four-month period of time is very challenging. So one person said, you know what you do to wake yourself up early in the morning? And it's on Amazon. You put your alarm clock on, but once it rings, it's a little helicopter, and the helicopter flies to another part of the room. So you literally have to get up out of bed to go and get the helicopter, put it back on its hub in order for that alarm clock to stop ringing.
Oh shit!
Right,
I like
that's very cool.
And so now you actually not just rolling out of bed and putting it on, but like now you got to go find it because it's flying in different directions.
Oh shit!
And then putting it on there. So try doing that. I think the motivation is if you have kids or if you have. I have a lot of dogs. I breed French bulldogs, another entrepreneurial, skill set, if you will. But imagine not waking everybody else in the house as the requirement, right? It's easy to just roll over, roll out of bed, snooze, go back.
Very easy.
Especially now, this time of the year, it's getting colder outside.
Yep, it's chilly in the morning.
Right.
If you didn't put the heat on at night.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So, I think for me, my why is creating a legacy, building a legacy, and then also the first person that I really looked up to, who really gave me my professional why, is a mentor named Jim. Jim has since passed due to severe Parkinson's.
Sorry.
But one of the sharpest men I know, never not, I'm using double negatives, never not wore a 3-piece suit. Always had the perfect pocket square.
Sharp.
And I remember because he's another SUNY Oswego grad. I didn't go to Ivy League, went to state school. But Jim said, Rich, when I retire, and I was at his retirement dinner, he says, when I retire, I would have impacted 100 families directly, and each of those impacted 100 under them. He said, I'm responsible for creating at least 30 millionaires. Right. And he said, why don't you take a look? And he actually kept in his drawer pictures of when they first started working with him. Again, mentor, right? We talked about mentorship. So he then kept pictures of the before and the after. Right. And you see these now men, professionals that are extremely savvy, but you saw them when they were 20 years old and still going to keg parties in college, and now all of a sudden they live in the most affluent area and they have a $3 million house.
That's right.
Right. And so you could see the before and the after. And so the way he was discussing how he's helped their family, but how their friendship has really taken off and they've created lifelong bonds.
Right.
And I think that impact is also very important and part of why I want to build and create a legacy and help other people. If I can help other people that can help other people, well, then God bless. That's fantastic. That's really what I'm looking to do.
That's a great answer, bro.
Yeah.
Did you rehearse that last night?
I did not. I swear to God.
I mean, you had the impact. You got the legacy.
Yeah.
Those are big. That's big.
Yeah.
I agree, though. Legacy and
But
impact
that's where
is
it's
very
at.
important.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that, for me, impact, that's my biggest why is the impact, changing people's lives, like
Hell yeah.
being able to be a difference and let people know that change can happen. You can come from nothing and become something. You could do whatever it is that you set your heart
That's
out
my
to
favorite.
do.
That's my favorite story,
Yeah.
right? My favorite story is the non-complainer, and and again, this is very cliche, and I apologize, but like somebody that I admire a lot is Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, I don't know if you've seen a couple of Netflix documentaries, has a stand up. He tells his story. But, you know, Mike Tyson literally came from nothing. And the one thing that I would give him the utmost respect on is that he kept convincing himself day in and day out. And he was a beast. Right. But he kept saying that no one is better than me.
Yeah.
Right. And then his mentor, his trainer. Right.
Custom motto.
Right, and so he kept telling him, "You're the best." Right, when you're taking a look at when he was training upstate New York,
yes,
and when you're taking a look at those old school videos in the Catskills, and he just kept telling him, "You're the best. No, everyone's gonna fear you. Look them in the
ferocious.
eye.
You're an animal."
Right?
Yeah.
Key words. Those are key words that he remembered. He took his own key words and then he applied it until that was his fundamental belief.
Yeah. Words are powerful.
Words are so powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Words are powerful.
What you think about yourself, what you think about your capabilities and what your capacity is
your
also
self-talk, your all of that, like
all of it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think you have to convince yourself that is it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you have to do on a continuous basis. But repetition, I think, also plays into it as well, too.
Yeah.
And I think that right there is key, because that's probably one of the biggest traits in successful entrepreneurs is that they saw themselves there before they got there. They saw it as a reality. Like that's why, you know, people talk about like, you know, meditation being such a big part of success and stuff like that, but meditation is just being able to sit within yourself and see things come to fruition, right? And that's part of being an entrepreneur, is being able to see your vision happening before, right? And great visionaries have people buy into that vision. Like that's what you have to become. You know, I heard a story about Henry Ford where somebody had gone and they were supposed to invest in him, and they said, "Oh, I'm going to come and I'm going to invest in you," and it was like a $5,000 investment he was looking for, right, when he started the Ford. But at the time, it was all horse and buggy, right? Nobody like car. Nobody's going to have a car, right?
Yeah.
So the guy ended up not making the investment. He's like, "Yeah, I don't see it."
Kind of regrets it.
But yeah. Then here comes somebody else. He's like, I'll give you $5. Some farmer from nowhere, like he just gives him the $5,000. It like ends up being like worth, you know, billions now, right? But it was the visionary, right? It was him being able to
convey his vision,
to convey that vision and say, no, like everybody's gonna have a car one day. Like, everybody's gonna be driving one day. Sure, you know, and obviously we see what the industry is now, right? It's come a long way from horse and buggy, right?
Yeah, electric and planes and everything.
Sure, absolutely. And I think with that being said, right, having that forward vision especially in a time that might not necessarily see as far as you are seeing, right? So you might have your vision might stretch further than everyone else's capacity for what they see in the future.
Right.
Right. Some people right now, they're thinking about things and actions they're taking today, entrepreneurship, but they might not see it happen until the year 2050. Right. But in their mind, they're convincing themselves with buzzwords and data and analytics, and they're adapting. They're saying this is going to change, and I'm going to pivot from what I'm doing now and spend all my time doing this because I fundamentally believe that's what that's the future.
That's where it's going. Absolutely.
That's where it's going.
Like for us, we're all involved in, you know, crypto and NFTs, and I actually had a project that I put on ice for 5 months because I didn't have the know-how. I had the creativity. I had the artist. I did a lot of my own work on creating Discord and doing all the social media, the marketing that I knew, but I didn't know how to develop anything to bring into the world.
Sure.
So I put it on ice because it was consuming me, where it took away from my other businesses. Right. So as an entrepreneur, you got to sometimes learn how to not quit, but put it on ice until the right pieces come into play. So this is what happened to me.
Sure.
One of my members, Matt, had done a successful project. He minted it and everything. He learned how to code by himself. He's awesome. So I just said, you know what? It's time for me to bring that back, but learn how to delegate. Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, learning how to delegate and not have to do everything by myself. So Matt said, because he knew about the project, he's like, I love that. I would totally do it. So no, he doesn't want to get paid for the development, nothing. He'll get a percentage at the end.
Sure.
Whereas other developers wanted $8,000 up front. And that. I'm not about to invest $8,000 into an NFT project yet, especially during this economy.
Right.
So like I said, that business is coming back to life. I'm going to incorporate that with my boxing events to
Tell
bring
us about that. Tell us about the boxing event.
Okay, so just quick synopsis. Back in 2004, I started a promotional company called the New York Amateur Boxing Championships, which was the first ever amateur boxing belt to be defended in amateur boxing.
Wow.
Nobody ever did it.
That's fantastic.
So like in the pros, you're a champion, you got to defend it. So what I did was I took the best of the best in New York and I made them defend it against somebody who was very competitive for that belt. Now we had champions. They won at the first event. Now they had to defend it at the second event, which was every 3 months. Now,
great.
Nice.
At my shows, the fighters walked out to music, lights came out, flashing lights, DJs.
Sure.
We had intermission shows. We had cameras. I was filming everything. It was interviews. I did press conferences. So I treated the amateurs like the pros.
Right?
Sure.
Give that pro feel.
Hell yeah.
You're building them up too, right? So you're giving them that confidence.
Yep, building. And dude, let me like Saddam Ali, Danny Jacobs. That's just 2 names that ended up becoming world champions.
Sure.
But I gave them a stage at a young age to feel like, yo, oh shit, this is how it feels.
Right.
Wow.
And actually, as a matter of fact, Danny ended up meeting his manager from one of my events, Keith Connolly, which
Networking,
is
connecting.
huge. And so that's what my events I wanted to do. I wanted to create a platform for these kids. They work so hard, these kids,
Sure.
and to showcase their skills on a higher stage, to feel that. Now they're going to work harder.
It's amazing.
Now they got a belt they got to defend.
Right.
So that was huge. From 2004 to about 2016, I did them for a long time. But then the belt thing got oversaturated. Everybody wanted to do belts after me. And to me, like, if you're doing something I'm doing, I got to do something better.
Right, of
or
course.
different.
Or different. Right.
So I'm like, let me take some time. Let me, just do other things that I'm, good at. And then now, like, about a year ago, I'm like, I got to get back into it. But it was like the creativity had to get to the point where the vision was right. And so the vision's right now. I got the amazing venue, Stereo Gardens, a concert hall in Patchogue, where they do great MMA fights there. They do, big rock and roll acts and stuff like that. Hip hop acts go there. It fits about 3,000 people. It's got
Great
a
venue.
pit, lighting. It's beautiful. So Stereo Garden, January 21st is my new event, and I changed the name. It's not NYABC Championships no more. It's the Strong Island Fight Night Series.
Love that.
Nice.
So it's,
Nice.
I named it Strong Island Fight Night Series, not even because of my gym. Actually, it was because more of like the casual fan, you hear the word Strong Island Fight Night, you're thinking, oh, that's my hometown, Long Island.
Right.
But it's some cool fights probably. Let me go to that.
Yeah.
Local support. Culture. You're building that culture. You're building that confidence, right? So I think people with your brand associate a couple of these positive buzzwords that we were discussing just now.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So I'm bringing it back, and it's going to be bigger than I ever did it, because I'm going to have my entrance walks are going to have smoke and lights, and it's just going to be crazy.
Nice.
LED screen behind you, and these fighters are going to feel amazing.
Nice.
And I created a new belt. So the old belt was New York Amateur Boxing Championships. This one is the 6-borough championship. Long Island being the 6th borough.
Sure.
Right.
The belt is going to be beautiful. I'm only going to have 3 or 4 title belts on the line. So all the preliminary fights are going to be called contender bouts. These are people who may fight for a title one day eventually, but the elite guys that are going to be pro one day, you're going to get a taste of what they will look like in the amateurs.
Right.
So, and every 3 months we're going to do them. Those guys are going to defend their belt with new guys that were on the undercard. And I'm going to showcase a lot of these gyms, these coaches. Dude, I'm pumped.
Right.
I'm pumped up.
Can I mention one? Can I just ask a question? Is there any opportunity for collaboration there? In terms of people watching this right now, is there anything that they may want to know if they say, "How do I get involved? What can I do?"
Well, we have sponsorship opportunities where you could put your brand on our events. And the way we market these events is very creative. We're going to make videos for each fighter. So all these fighters are going to be sharing their own videos across their own social media platforms. So if your logo is on every single fighter's platform, you're going to be seen across multiple streams of social media. Not only for that, you're going to be in the event, brand awareness, ring card girls holding up the cards, your business is going to be on there. So yeah, there's opportunities for businesses to sponsor and get brand awareness and build their brand through our events.
That's fantastic.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think one key underlying factor that to entrepreneurship that you mentioned, and it's you put these fighters on the big stage
Yes.
without getting there, and you giving them, they get to embody what it is to get there.
Yeah.
And it keeps that dream alive, right?
Yeah.
So you get that little kid back in you. Like, you remember when you're a little kid and whatever sport it was, you see yourself in the major leagues, you're hitting that home run or you're doing something, and you bring that back for them, right? So it feeds that hunger, it feeds that desire, and it shows them what it is that they're putting in that hard work for. And I think that that's such an important key to entrepreneurship, because you have to do those things to keep that dream alive, to really propel yourself into who you want to be, right? I think I heard a story of Ed Milet, who a great entrepreneur in his own right, has a big podcast himself, but he says how he used to save up all year just to go to like this elite golf club so that he could feel how they felt, see what it was like to be treated how they were treated,
right?
Because that's the level that he knew he belonged on. Right?
Yes.
And it's the same thing, right? These kids that they know, I belong at this level. This is why I work hard. And you're giving them a taste of what it's like to be there.
Hell yeah.
You know, and that helps grow that passion.
Absolutely. And in return, like you said, impact. I'm impacting their lives, which impacts mine because I love seeing people progress and strive and reach their goals. And that's something I'm big on, especially here at the gym. But
right.
Enough about Kristian, man.
well, it's not about Kristian anymore. It's about
kidding.
Kristian's impact on the society through the events and through the collaboration and culture that Kristian is bringing to Strong Island, right? The sixth borough. I would agree with you.
Absolutely.
And so, I think that the attributes that on what you're bringing to them, they may not know it right now, but you're actually creating entrepreneurship within their skill set.
Right.
And one big thing that and again, this is my second year professionally, graduated from school. I'm out there in the real world. This also was post 2008, so probably not a great time to be out in the world, much like today's environment and much like today's economy right now. But the one thing that I think that is a very important skill set is the ability to network. Yeah. Right. We talked about networking on the last podcast a little bit, but the other thing that you're doing with them is they're networking with a whole bunch of different fighters, trainers, coaches, brands, right? And so by them getting that confidence, they're also learning soft skills. I'll tell you one thing. I don't think, actually most recently I found the first accredited university that had a networking class. Right. But before that, I hadn't found one university that had a class on how to network. What is networking, right? And so, by the way, the same is also true for entrepreneurship. Right. Now, there may be some degrees on business and entrepreneurship, but I didn't find an elective that was here is what you need to know going into entrepreneurship. Here are the skill sets that you need to go and create a business. I was a business major, economics major, and I can tell you that they did not teach me how to file a tax return. They did not teach me how to go to my bank and what documents I needed, the operating agreement, IRS filing to go out and create RVJ Capital LLC. They didn't know any of these, or I didn't know any of these, right? And so you had to learn through, obviously, your own
myself,
yourself.
I honestly, like, there's still stuff I don't know,
and that's okay. I think
that's why I call Rich. I call Rich. You gotta help me out.
But that's okay. You use your resources and you're using your network and you're using the tools that you have available to you.
Absolutely. And actually, the other day, I'm bringing people on the team, and it's like a big thing about me is like I'm good at finding people to do stuff, but it's like how much do I pay you? How do I have that conversation with you to, you feel still comfortable, but I'm not giving you my shirt because I know that I'm going to put in 90% of the work, but you're very valuable at the same time, But so like I have that. That's one big thing about me in entrepreneurship. And I think that everybody needs somebody that's knowledgeable in that area to help them, because that could be a big roadblock. That was a big roadblock me for a long time. Now I'm learning how to, make sure that everybody's happy.
Sure.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's like a key leadership skill in entrepreneurship is, again, like we talked about having people buy into the vision, right? But when early on and you're trying to get people involved to work on your project or an event that you're doing or something, and they're not getting paid, right? Or they're not getting you can't compensate them much, right? But you get them to buy into the vision, right? And I think like right now you have in today's society, a lot of people, like, they're all about their bag, right? Like, if I'm not getting paid for it, I'm not doing it. If I don't do this, right. So to be able to have people buy into the vision and say, hey, look, I'm with you on this. I'll do it for free, right? Or I'll do it for minimal pay, just to get on it, and because I see where this thing is going, Right. And I think when you can find people like that to be a part of what you're building, it just makes what you're building that much greater, right? Because now you got people that they're dedicating their time, they're giving up of themselves to build something with you, right? And you go through the fire together, and you end up coming out the other side completely different, and like you went to war with somebody and you built this brotherhood
in the trenches.
That's true. Yeah, exactly, in the trenches.
And so I look at that and I look at, okay, somebody wants cash, but they're going to miss out on the equity piece. Now, depending on what it is, I may favor that. I may say, you know what, that's actually a good deal for you, and a good deal for me. Right. Okay, no problem. I might not have the cash right now, but I'm a resourceful guy. I'm going to learn. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get whatever resources I need, because again, cash flow may be a problem that most entrepreneurships face. Yeah. But if the project is big enough, and again, it really depends on what kind of project it is. I'm going to want to find somebody that believes in what I believe, because they see the equity upside potential. Right? And they could see the scale and the impact on whatever the project is.
They get they get it early enough, they get a percentage, they work with you, they grow, and they end up, that position that they held, they end up becoming like, the CFO. Right. And then they hire somebody else to handle that.
Exactly.
That's a, if it's a promising proposition in the business that seems right, that's the best way to go about it.
And I quote Beyonce, and I don't have the words exactly, but pay me in equity, right?
And, yes.
So I forgot what song that was. We'll find out. We'll put it in the comment section later. Yeah. But Beyonce says, "Pay me in equity, pay me in equity." Yeah. Right?
I think it was a show, right? It was a show that she did for. If I'm not mistaken, it was like a show that she did for Uber or something like that, and they paid her in equity or something like that.
I'm not sure. We'll find out.
I think we'll find out. We'll put it in the comments, but it was something like that. I know that she was like, "Just pay me in equity."
It could be various things.
It ended up being
a commercial that she was doing, or Tresemme, or any of those.
Yeah, when you build your brand up high enough, I think when other companies approach you for certain things, you could demand that.
Yeah,
right. Like, I don't want to get paid $10,000. Like, you want me to help? You want to put my face on your product? Give me 5% for the rest of the company, or whatever the negotiations are. But yeah, you gotta, if you can build your brand up enough, those opportunities.
But the key is that there has to be value there. Like, if you're not bringing any value to the project,
if they're approaching you, they already know the value.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether or not you communicated the value and whether or not you align on. Okay, they think that you're over here, you think you're over here. How do you then match both and then get a deal done?
Communicate, and that's it.
Right.
That's it.
So I think that this was great. One thing that I wanted to line up for future reference is the discussion of entrepreneurship. We're approaching the end of the year. A lot of people have New Year's resolutions. We're going into the holiday season right now. Yeah. And so I think we want to create content. We want to create follow-up discussions that can lead into very specific subtopics, subcategories on entrepreneurship, because we can create libraries worth of content from everyone's personal story, everyone's experience, and some of them right, some of them wrong. I don't think there's a wrong answer. No. I think all of it is learning, but I think one of the things that we could do is we can discuss and break these into smaller segments so that we can then focus on whatever that topic is at hand and hopefully help educate everybody on small little items that can help them in their decision making, especially going into the new year. Any comment that you have for people considering entrepreneurship, whether they're at the early stage or whether they've been an entrepreneur for a long time, any advice that you would give them going into the new year as we approach the end of this year?
You asking me?
I'm asking you.
Any advice? Well, 2023 is going to be a very world-changing year. We don't know what to expect, but I still believe in the entrepreneurial mind. So, and everybody does. This is big changing times. Everybody's thinking entrepreneurship. Okay, so before the new year, if you're going to start a new business, I think make sure you're passionate about what you're about to get into. Make sure you have no doubt in your mind that you are going to execute this to the end. If you have any doubts, if you're negative, try to find something else that's going to be more that you fall in love with. That's really it. Find something you're really passionate about. It's very important to be passionate, and don't have 20 ideas and try to work on all of them. Just put all your eggs in one basket for right now until that becomes so successful. Then maybe you could branch off and do these other creative ideas. And that's it. That's it. If you got, and I would also say, if you're going to get into entrepreneurship, you could even email us. We'll try our best to, give you some insight as to what next step you should take in whatever vision is that you have.
Victor.
For me, I mean, besides hit Rich up for tax mitigation, no, my advice would be, to work harder on yourself than you do at your craft, man. You gotta, like Jim Rohn says, become a success, not for the money, but for the person that you become, right? And I think entrepreneurship's the same way, become an entrepreneur for the person that you're going to become at the end of the road. And that comes through, self-awareness, self-development, and working harder on yourself. So
definitely. Yeah, definitely work on yourself, guys. There's a lot of great speakers, philosophers, psychologists, just for like one, Jordan Peterson. They help you learn about yourself. They help you learn emotional intelligence. That's so important in this. And you touched on this before we even got on the camera. You're talking about emotional intelligence. And it's very key to really learn about yourself and not get overzealous. And you were probably about to say this, but I probably stole it from you. Let Richard take control.
Well, I think for me, anyone that's listening in, I think have a commitment to yourself, have a commitment to your personal self-discipline. I think that this is a great time of the year to do reflecting. I think it's a great time of the year to celebrate as well too. I think a lot of people take that celebratory aspect out and they go into this fear-driven mindset, right? Pat yourself on the back. There are people that are in significantly worse situations than you are, right? And you've made it to where you've gotten to. And so I think that when you are able to meditate, reflect, when you're able to commit to discipline, commit to your personal well-being, next year is going to be a very interesting year. And for some people, it could be the year that they've been waiting for forever. Right, and so I think that right now it's I'm going to use the phrase hyperbolic chamber. I think it's time to go into the hyperbolic chamber, go into training mode, right, and then be a student of the game, and then come out stronger, but come out with discipline and create a business plan, right? So another thing too, business plan. Why do a lot of New Year's resolutions fail? Is because people fail to plan properly, right? What are gym memberships in January? I think it's a crazy statistic on how many people sign up for the gym, and then February 15th and beyond, that membership declines.
It drops so much. Like there's like this. Right. I think there's even a business model built after the gym, the gym business, because they know that most people that sign up for it aren't going to actually use it. Right?
Big cash month for them is January.
Right.
It's gonna pop.
Right.
Absolutely.
But don't let that happen to you and your passion and your dreams, and also don't let anybody else belittle your dreams or belittle your ideas. And I think that that's another, bullying is a big aspect, and whether that is direct bullying or indirect bullying, I think it's just a matter of, do you have enough self-belief? And then if you don't, then apply the Mike Tyson methodology and mindset to convince yourself that you are worthy that you can accomplish it.
Absolutely.
And I think that from there we can then pivot to each of these subcategories, and hopefully this is helpful in any way, shape, or form to you, your journey, and what you're looking to create and build. And again, if you don't have those resources, contact us. We have a very large network. We're happy to share our network with you in any aspect on what you may need. And guess what? I'm not the first one to admit that I know everybody. And so if I don't, I'll ask, and a friend of a friend of a friend might have the answer.
That's right. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right.
That's all for today. I really
Facts.
appreciate
Christian. Thanks for having us,
Yeah,
man. It was
always
great
fun.
as always.
My pleasure,
Always a
man.
great
I love talking about business and entrepreneurship. So anytime. Anytime. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Look, if you guys got a wealth of knowledge today from this, be sure to check back. We're going to have some more episodes like this. Like Chucky said, we'll break it down into categories to be more in-depth on just one thing and give you guys more insight. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and like I said, reach out to us. We'll have our emails in the description below. If you want to talk to me, him, whatever, we're here for you. All right, guys. Have a blessed one. If you don't see us soon, happy holidays. Peace.